You're standing down as the chair of One Body, One Faith, but can you tell me why and how you feel about that?
Yes, well, I've been chair of One Body, One Faith for about 5 years now. And I joined just at the point that it changed from being LGCM into One Body, One Faith. The Board of Trustees and I recognised that there were two key issues for the charity at the time. The first being that the governance wasn't as watertight as it needed to be. So we put a lot of effort into making sure that the governance was set up properly, and that's not very sexy, but it's really, really important. That took a lot of effort, and I'm really pleased that we got it to where it is now, and we're really on top of it now. I'm super confident, which as chair of a board of trustees is kind of important. The other thing was the direction that the charity was going in, because for anyone working in the field of LGBT plus Christians, there is a real risk that you get trapped in victim mode. The church is, by and large, negative towards LGBT Christians. It is changing, but it's still not great. And it's very easy to get trapped into victim mode, so that you are kind of in a corner shouting at the church that's being mean to you. And there is an absolute need to call out abusive and unacceptable behaviour, and that needs to happen. But if that's all you do, or if that dominates, then that feels negative. And we wanted to claim the positivity of being a queer Christian, with all that was good about it. We talk about being, queerfully and wonderfully made, and I think that's really important. So if that's true, then it's a wonderful thing, and we needed to be more positive and celebratory and recognise that it wasn't that we needed to kind of be grateful for the scraps from the table that we were getting, but more that actually Jesus thinks we're worth much, much more than scraps from the table. So I wanted us to claim it. So yeah, that's the journey we've been on. So with changing board of trustees, with our executive director Luke, our fantastic operations manager Katie, we've really been on an incredible journey, and we've become that organisation. That's kind of reflected in our strapline, which is empowering LGBT plus Christians and advocating for change. So we haven't lost that calling out unacceptable behaviour and trying to change it, but the primary focus is kind of enabling them, and that's been reflected through some of the work we've been doing. Our rhythm community, our reconnecting with our international friends. So yeah, and just when the church won't do something, we'll, rather than just kind of sit in a corner and shout at them, we'll call them out, and then we'll find a way of doing it.
Yeah, that's great. That's really.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
so
good.
I guess I've got mixed feelings. It's the right time for me personally to stand down, and I think it's the right time for the charity to have new leadership. But yeah, mixed feelings, I guess.
Sure. When you talk about timing, actually, you've recently left your role within the Church of England. Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yes, so I have always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Church of England. I was ordained in 97. I did 10 years in the church, and then I left and worked in education for a little while before God called me back, which at the time seemed bizarre, but I kind of followed it and did it. And I've been working back for the Church of England for 8 years. But when I went back, I was very clear that if I was going back, it would be as an openly gay man with a partner. And I wouldn't hide that, and I wouldn't pretend that he was my lodger or any nonsense like that. So in order to do that, I went back in with some clear red lines, and I said all the way through from the bishop who reappointed me to anyone else that actually if those red lines were crossed, then I would walk away. And I think if you are an LGBT plus Christian working in the church, or even part of any church, I would encourage you to have those red lines, because it's about that difference that I talked about with the charity in terms of being trapped as a victim, but and being able to make positive choices about you, your faith and your life. Now, I had some red lines in place. Interestingly enough, those red lines weren't really crossed, but some other ones were that I didn't know were there. I'd gone from thinking I could change this organisation to feeling like I was propping up something that was a bit toxic. Okay. For me, in my scenario, in my situation. And I just decided that I'd had enough of living with the negativity that surrounds you if you're a openly gay senior member of I was an archdeacon, which is a senior member of the clergy, so it becomes a bigger issue when you're. I used to joke about being a gobby homosexual. When you're a gobby homosexual and you're a senior person in the church, you attract attention and it becomes tough. And for me and for my family, it just felt like actually I can't be part of this anymore for my own well-being. And so I spent some time thinking about what next, and God led me to some opportunities which have been fantastic. I'm now working for an incredible charity that promotes emotional health in schools and homes and workplaces, and so it's been a massive change. This year has been lots of big changes, and I've left the Church of England completely. So I'm not working for them anymore, and I'm choosing not to worship in a Church of England church either. So for me, I need to completely cut ties and have kind of a clear boundary, and that kind of leaves me in a very exciting and slightly scary place in terms of how I now express my faith and my spirituality, and that's kind of liberating.
You mentioned it's been a season of a lot of changes in a fairly short space of time. What do you think has been one of the unexpected bonus things, one of the good things that's come out of that you weren't anticipating?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I knew that being able to kind of remove myself from the restrictions, the negative talk. And the thing about negative talk is it then very easily becomes negative self-talk. So my experience of conversion therapy was having prayer ministry as a teenager, which didn't work, and it was like 1 or 2 sessions. It clearly didn't work, but it had been implanted in me as an idea, and so I spent the rest of my life since then, certainly until I came out publicly as gay, trying to pray myself straight. So the negative talk became negative self-talk. And I think if you're in an environment like the Church of England, where there is a lot of negative talk about being LGBT+, it's too easy for it to become negative self-talk. And I don't think I'd realised the extent to which that had happened until I'd removed myself from that situation. So I talk about a sense of freedom and liberation, and it's largely about the fact that cloud of negativity has no hold over me anymore, because I'm no longer invested in that institution. So I'm able to work through it and kind of park it. And I didn't anticipate just how liberating that would be until I'd removed myself from it. Okay. And that's been really surprising. And it's a bit like my journey has mirrored the journey that the charity went on, in that it was like, I'm not going to allow myself to be a victim anymore. I'm going to make some positive choices. And those positive choices have just been incredible. And one positive choice can lead to another positive choice, can lead to another positive choice. So yeah, I think that's the unexpected thing. I knew it was going to be different. I knew it would be good. I've been amazed at just how liberating and freeing and good it has been to make that decision.
What would you say, do you think, to people who might find themselves in that kind of space where they're starting to take on the words that other people are saying over them? And what kind of advice would you give them?
I think, first of all, be really aware that that's happening, and a bit like the red lines. So I would often have conversations with queer people who are thinking about ministry, and I would say, go into it knowing that there are red lines for you. Work out what yours are, because they'll be different for different people. Work out what your red lines are and be absolutely prepared to make a positive choice when those red lines are hit. That actually you don't have to put up with that. You don't have to be trapped. You can make a positive choice to remove yourself from that situation. So I think just be mindful of it. It doesn't, I think we all live with an element of negative self-talk and negative self-talk, I think. But just being mindful of the impact that what other people are saying about you, even if it's not directly about you, if it's about your tribe, then just be prepared to make a positive decision. So I think it's absolutely that awareness. And once I became aware of just how damaging it was for me, I was then able to make the choice. So I think, awareness is the key thing.
Well, you mentioned making a choice, and now you're in a very different place, working for a very different organisation. But can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so Family Links is a charity that I now work for. I'm chief executive of that charity. Charity I was involved with 20 odd years ago. I trained as one of their parent group leaders. So they deliver training to enable people to support parents and families and children and adults in the workplace with emotional health. And within the program that we deliver, there is something about using your personal power. And I guess that's kind of what I'm talking about now, is actually using your personal power to make positive choices for yourself. So to be working for that charity, they're an incredible team, they do amazing work. So I'm 2 months into it and just loving every minute of it.
That's brilliant. So, lots of change, lots of different stuff, lots of exploring, lots of putting good boundaries in, which I think is really healthy. Where does your faith fit into all of this?
It's really interesting. So I'm 52. I kind of started taking my faith seriously when I was about 16, I guess. And that whole journey from 16 through to now, with everything that happened to me, I got married, I had children, I got divorced, I came out, I left the church, I went back to church, I left the church again. The one constant has been God throughout that. And my relationship with God is stronger now, I think, than it's ever been. But it's just been strong and constant throughout. And of course, when you say you're leaving the church, you're no longer going to work as a vicar or a priest or a minister where you are one. And everyone's instant thought, oh, he's lost his faith. I absolutely haven't lost my faith. My relationship with God is as it ever was. What I've done is removed what for me had become a toxic institution to express that faith. I've said, actually, that's not the best way for me to express my faith, either for my faith or for me as an individual. So I need to find another way. And I think God and I are on that journey together and thinking, okay, well, how am I going to do this? Where will I express this? And I'm enjoying that journey. And I don't know what it's like. I met a wonderful guy. So I was at Portsmouth Pride yesterday. I met a wonderful guy called Jamie. Jamie, if you're watching this, shout out to you, who is on a similar journey to me, actually. He talks about he needed unorganised religion. I love the idea of unorganised religion. Not disorganised, I think there's a difference. There's plenty of disorganised religion. There's no shortage of disorganised religion. But I think there's something about unorganised religion which I'd like to explore a bit more. I don't know. I have no idea what that means, but it just resonated with me. So God and I are in a good place, and we're looking to find some unorganised religion.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much. That's really, really good.
Thank you.